Hello. I am putting a trigger warning on this on one of these platforms. You can put text on here. I don't know how to do it on the other one right now. I'm probably going to say a lot because I'm not in the best headspace. It's fine. I'm not like nothing for anyone to worry about. This is something I've been wanting to talk about at some point, and things just keep popping up lately. So I'm in a stressed out space. I'm gonna go see if I can find if I have some CBD gummies, because right now I feel like a train wreck. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab that if I can find it. Don't mind that. That was the sound of my kitchen that needs to be cleaned. If you guys don't know, I'll talk more about supplements at some point, but Garden of Life. Sorry, I've not figured out how to make my cameras not face the wrong to mirror. I haven't figured out how to mirror my cameras yet. I'm gonna take some CBD. This one's great. It's got turmeric in it. I was supposed to be working earlier today. I'm gonna have to work my job later today. Thankfully, I'm able to arrange that. But wow, this morning, CPTSD, if you don't know, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. You don't sometimes know you have it until you know. I didn't get diagnosed until a year and a half ago. And it puts a lot of things into perspective. I remember being a teenager and dealing with mental health stuff. I've posted about this before, but the claim is that my parent was told by the healthcare workers who were dealing with me with my mental health stuff that they had said something like, "Don't let her manipulate you," which, as someone with CPTSD and borderline traits, is like, I can't. Even my own therapist was like, I can't imagine how anyone who works in mental health could say that about a person. That she's like, I don't believe it. But you know, you guys got to think, like, this was late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, late 90s. And this is the other thing, a lot of my generation and people I know who are in their 30s, like, there's so much overlap in CPTSD and things like ADHD. So both of these things, if you follow Dr. Amen, sorry, my dogs are being loud, but I knew that they were going to whine in the crates, and right now I'm very overstimulated. If you follow Dr. Amen's work, he works with he's a psychiatrist who works with brain scans of people, and trauma changes the brain, especially in developing children. And one of the brain type subsets I believe he found in his ADHD, similar to his ADHD subsets, is a subset of people who have a very overactive part of the brain, and they have associated this type of brain activity with people who are children of or grandchildren of people who suffered with alcoholism. Which, you know, I'm not gonna lie, my mom passed when I was 8. She made that decision for herself. I'm not going to go into the specific details of how she did it, but, you know, she struggled with alcoholism and other issues from her trauma when she grew up. So this is where we talk about generational trauma, because, you know, I have, as I've mentioned before, I have Native American roots. When I grew up on my my mom's side of the family, this was talked about, but everyone down south kind of says this. We've confirmed this through DNA testing. So, Gabor Mate talks about generational trauma and how this affected people. I feel like this is a sideline to this conversation, but this falls down through families. The other side of my family, there were other family issues too. Like everyone has something. So it's hard. Like I said in my video the other day, the idea that people wanting to fit into a society, ego, neurotypicals, and the difference between neurodiverse people, there's so much there. But I know I'm all over the place, and this is what it's like on my brain, guys. Like when yes, and living in survival mode is exhausting. This is how my brain is. Sometimes it never turns off. And this is why I say, I can post an infographic again, but CPTSD and ADHD, there's huge overlap because of the way it affects your brain. Your brain has to adapt to living in a high stress situation. So when you're not under high stress, it's almost like your brain subconsciously creates it and just makes it happen, somehow seeks it out. For some people, you have to be very aware of this. It's like a toxic behavior. Like this is why we get trauma bonded with people. Like this is why we find relationships with people who, tell us their life story that was horrible too. And that's fine. Like some of us who have those rough life stories, we're still good people. The question is the person working on themselves? And they can say they're working on themselves, but their actions are going to speak louder than anything. So I'm having a rough time today. And the reason is last night, for some reason, like I try to tell myself that, things are that bad on a regular basis. This was like the invalidating type of style that I grew up in, like just that, like you got to put the negative thoughts away and this and that and make the best out of everything, and that whole toxic positivity thing that I don't love. But the problem with CPTSD that I'm starting to understand is that like it doesn't go away. It's still there. So we have to as our brains start to get healthier again, and as we start to develop healthier pathways, which our brains may never be the same as people who haven't experienced trauma. Like, that we might just have to work with what we have to a degree. Some of it we can work on. There are skills that we can learn. But, it's work. Our brains don't work the same way as everybody else. So, your body's going to hold on to a lot of that. Before what do they say? People's brains are still developing through their mid-20s. I'd, almost say through their 30s sometimes. There's a lot of things that slow that down: trauma, stress, misuse of substances, which has not been a huge problem for me, but I'm not going to act like I never drank when I was younger at times, or that I didn't participate with Dr. Green Thumbs, and that's another discussion. Obviously, I'm having some CBD, trying to calm my nervous system right now, but THC and I aren't always best friends. So for some people, I know people have seizures. Like, for some of them, that's a good option. I know people who have cancer. Like, for some of them, that's a good option. I know people have chronic pain. That's another great thing about CBD for me with CPTSD. You have a lot of chronic pain because you are so full of adrenaline all the time. And I can post more videos on that and talk about that, but your body is full of stress hormones, and it will affect your gut, and it does a lot of stuff to your body. So last night, I thought I went to bed in a good mood. I talked to my partner. I was, feeling pretty good about stuff, but I went to sleep and I had some messed up nightmares, y'all. Like bad. Yes, and totally agree. Adrenal fatigue. I have posted a really good video. I'll post it in the link here from Dr. Andrew Rosenberg, where he talks about adrenal fatigue, which is a controversial topic from some people, but I believe it's real. It's just like very similar to the idea of how some people develop diabetes. Some people have the first type where it's they have to take insulin all the time. At some people, it's like you overstress your insulin system. So if you keep stressing your adrenals over and over and over again, like you're gonna pay in some way. Your body is trying to help you to survive whatever you're going through. But that's why so many people that I know that have had traumatic lives have allergies and stuff. Like you need cortisol that your body makes in order to handle allergens. So like they're starting to find the connections between these things. So yeah, guys, like I can go into another video in more depth about these topics, but as I've been going through therapy and talking about my experiences, I'm really realizing just how different my brain is. And some of that is like the gifted neurodiverse thing, but you know, the hyperphantasia, which I mentioned before, phantasia is this idea that like what we visualize in our mind. And you'll see that thing going around online that has like the 5 different apples of varying degrees of like how sharp they are. Some people are not aware of this, but like if you ask a person to visualize in their mind like that apple, what do you see? Like some people see nothing. I have friends who've told me that they see nothing, and I'm like, oh wow, that could be a gift, because like sometimes I wish I could see nothing in my head. Because for me, it's like there's 6 screens, like when you see those security rooms with all the monitors, like there's like 6 screens running all of the time with like stuff on them, and it's like sometimes I have some control over it and sometimes I don't. And like the things that help me, like the ambient ASMR music, those are probably the best ones for me because they're kind of stimulating and focusing in a certain way. But yeah, some people see nothing. Like if you ask them to visualize their own mother's face, they're like, I can't, like I know my mom, I know who she is, like, but I can't see the features of her face. I can't imagine like where she's got that mole on her face or that freckle or whatever. And like, yeah, yes, you're right, Anne. Yes, we're still surviving. Some people, when you ask them to imagine an apple, see kind of almost like the logo of like the computer. Like they see this flat, like almost 2-dimensional apple thing. Some people see a little more detail where it looks like a colored pencil sketch. And then there's people like me, and like if I close my eyes and think about things, like if I think about an apple, I can see it, but like in my mind I can almost like pick it up and turn it in 3D, and like I can feel how the peel feels, and I can like the texture of it, and like I can smell it, and like different apples have different smells. Like all of this is in my head, like this sensory information, and like I can imagine that I'm cutting an apple, and like I can hear the knife hitting the cutting board. Like I don't know how to explain that, but like it's there in my head. And like I can taste it if I really think about it. Like what does a green apple taste like? What does a red delicious apple taste like? Like so it's extremely vivid mental imagery. And my dreams are no exception. And granted, we don't always remember our dreams, which was a thought that I had today and I'll talk more about. But I don't know what'll get flagged if I say it on here on Facebook or Instagram, but like I have violent dreams. Like I can see and feel things in my dreams. Like I don't know how to explain it to y'all, but like I can feel it. Like, and I had dreams last night that I don't want to go into the details, but let's say gore. They were gory, and I don't specifically know why. I could like come up with a few ideas of things that are going on as to why. But I literally woke up in the middle of the night, maybe screaming, maybe trying to scream, but not being able to scream because you're like in this state of like you're frozen, you know? Like, and it's kind of like, I don't know if this happens to people with alcohol or other substances, but like, it was that feeling of like, I woke up and it's like, trying to look at the ceiling, but not really. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like everything was spinning. Like I was full of so much adrenaline. Like the whole room felt like it was spinning. And like, I'm thinking like, I want to grab my phone. I want to like text my partner and be like, oh my God, like I just had this horrible dream. And I can't even move to like grab the phone. And I don't know when, how long I was laying there, like hyperventilating and like having this moment. And then I guess I fell back asleep. I don't know. So I'm not a morning person, and this might be part of it. The dreams do not help. Like I could tell this morning I have been shaky, and yeah, I had a little caffeine, but like I don't usually react to caffeine this much. It's the adrenaline, like Anne said, like and I've been working really hard. I have not had a lot of playtime for myself. Like I've just been, you know, trying to keep things going, and like I can feel it in my body. Like I get pain in my back sometimes because I lift heavy stuff all day. I lift as safely as I can, but anybody who's lifting 50-pound bags, not even boxes are easier than bags, 50-pound bags, it's like it'll wear on you, you know, like that's why you have to be careful about how you do it. You have to sleep, you have to eat right, like you have to really be conscious. But you know, like we said, adrenal fatigue, like I mentioned it today, and I'm going to go into another video to talk more about the health struggles that I've dealt with, and some of these I think are genetic, and a lot of them were probably CPTSD related. So I, for 20 years, struggled with issues with my kidney. And like I will talk more about it, but eventually after complaining again and again and again and again and going to doctors and going to specialists and getting CT scans and getting x-rays and passing kidney stones and like being told like you just need to drink more water. Finally, I was getting a surgery for endometriosis reasons. And I asked them, I said, please look at what's going on with my kidney. Come to find out, I had a ureter stricture, which means that the little tube going from my kidney to my bladder was like really squeezed really shut, and it was like fusing to the wall. So they, you know, excised it from the wall that my abdomen where it was, and they helped to kind of open it up. But I still get pain sometimes, and some of that may be adrenal fatigue. So I have worked with Dr. Andrew Rostenberg. He's based in Boise, Idaho. So it's out of pocket for me. It's, you know, but he's got a great YouTube channel, Beyond MTHFR. He's the one who talks about adrenal fatigue and a lot of other things, a lot of other subjects related to epigenetics. But yeah, I've been feeling it in my kidney this week, and it's like, it's not like I have bad habits. Like I drink very little coffee. I really don't drink alcohol. I don't like how it makes me feel. It's just tiredness. Like I'm just tired and exhausted, and you know, so not really a morning person already. And then with these crazy dreams, I'm literally trying to get my morning going, and I'm like shaking and having a hard time focusing. So I'm trying to like do all the things I'm doing, and as I'm doing it, this is the disassociation piece. It's like sometimes you're just on autopilot, and it's like you're watching someone else do it. It's like you're doing it, but you're watching someone else do it. And like it's weird. I'm like washing my face, and I'm like, did I just put that on my face? Like I'm looking at it right there. Like, didn't I just have that in my hand? Like, because my brain is so scrambled. And the thing with CPTSD that I realized is that like, it's wild because sometimes, I don't know if it's like the stress of not being able to handle the literal images or the thoughts or the memories of things. Sometimes things come to you in this weird imagery that's almost like movies running in your head. It's like your brain's trying to tell you something, but for me it comes in the form of imagery. And sometimes it's triggers that are things from my past that, like, you know, like I've had people tell me that I've been in relationships with for many years that said, like, you really never forget anything. And like that's like a joke made by people specifically about women usually, like, but it is really not a joke. I've talked to my therapist about this, and I don't have photographic memory because I can't look at a picture and then tell you this and that block on the picture were a certain color. But like I have that type of memory where like I have very vivid, like I can go back to like places from my childhood memories. I can walk around and see it in 3D, and I can like visualize things from my childhood. I can think about the beach when I used to go to my grandparents' house and like smell the beach and like hear the waves, and I can like remember the feeling of like the sun coming down on me and like just watching people and like the emotion of being in that space. So I don't know if this is a neurodivergent gifted CPTSD. I don't know where this falls because like it does not seem to be a common thing. So, you know, as I'm saying with the memory thing, like it's all the time. Like the person who told me that they have aphantasia where they don't see any mental imagery, they're like, when I go to work and I leave at the end of the day, like I leave it all at the door. I literally do not think about it. I'm like, God, that's a gift. Because like for me, like I have a certain customer who's cussed me out before about something, and every time I come in, they're nice to me now. Every time I see their face, it immediately that memory comes back and runs through my head like a reminder. And I'm like, I just don't react to it so much anymore now, but like it's there. So today is like, it is triggering and it's scary. I wrote about how a couple months ago I had an interaction where someone got upset with me, and it took me a while to realize kind of what had happened. There was a little backstory to it, to some interactions we had of misunderstandings, but like what it came down to is they flipped out at one point because they were sitting in their car. I didn't see them. I was stressing about my ex, who was pretty much stalking me. Let's be real. I've posted about it. Like he was sending things to my house and like just telling me that he didn't accept that I told him I didn't want to be in a relationship, and he had just told me that he got his car back on the road, which was a black 4-door car, you know. So I'm seeing this car somewhere, and I froze, and like I don't know. It's like for a minute you just stop, and it's like the wheels, it's like that little Windows thing that's like turning around, but like nothing's happening, you know? And I'm sitting there disassociated thinking like what is, you know? And finally I see this person in this car, but they got very pissed because they thought like I gave them a nasty look. And it's like, I'm literally disassociating. Like, I'm staring off into space. Like, yeah, do I look like a deer in the headlights? Do I look scared? Yeah, because I'm disassociated and my body's trying to figure out what's going on. So this is stressful for me because it's like, I try my best. Obviously, I grew up in an environment where you're supposed to put your best face forward. And if you want to go cry or you have a bad mood, go up to your room. Come back down when you have a better attitude. Don't want to hear it. So it's hard sometimes to work with the public. You know, like this is why people in general, not just women, although this happens to women a lot, people don't want you to tell them that they need to smile. Like, do you even understand? Like, if I'm disassociating over here, like, you need to smile, and I'm just like, I'm barely freaking holding it together right now, guys. Like, like, you don't even know, my brain is in another traumatic place, and you're like, smile, and I'm like, my mask is about to crack, and I'm about to have a breakdown. Hey, what are you guys doing? So I can feel it today. I'm trying to get like You know, like I took that CBD, I'm trying to relax, I'm trying to like get back to a more regulated space. And like, I guess the only thing I can say about this is like, now that I've been diagnosed, I know, like, I know what's happening to me. I understand that I can't always control it. I do have some like coping techniques, like the breathing stuff doesn't really work great for me because I have bad lungs, and that's just a trigger in itself. So I'm working with my therapist to try to find the different coping mechanisms that work for me. Some of them, I don't know if this is just me. I don't know if it's CPTSD. I don't know if it's neurodivergence. Sometimes I need to not have, I need to go sit in a quiet room. Like sometimes I need to be in a space. Like right now I got the lights turned down so I don't have the light on above me because like it's overstimulating. Like I'm already full of adrenaline. Like you want me to deal with sounds and lights and talk to people, and I'm like, I thought I had a second hoodie with me earlier, and like, I don't know where it went. I was like, I had it. Where did it go? Like, I'm so confused. And this is why CPTSD also gets mistaken for ADHD. Like, oh, you lose stuff all the time. You have ADHD. No, like I was disassociating, like, you know, and this is why I think whether you have ADHD or CPTSD, like you got to create habits where like I have a hook where I hang my keys on the door when I get home. I have a drawer where I always put my wallet. Like I do the same things, and I get like this is where OCPD behaviors come in and stuff, and you have to balance it. But it's like this is the way some of us deal, because if we don't follow the routines, stuff gets lost, and then you're like, I don't even know. I don't know where my keys are. I don't know where my wallet is. I don't know where my clothes are. Like, where are my glasses? Like, I can't see right now, you know, like and it's really hard because I've had to work and talk to my therapist and work on the habits of like, you know, right now my kid lives here part-time. It's like eventually, you know, I think I would like to live with someone, like be probably nice if things progress with my partner in that way. But it's like, I have to be able to live with someone, and they have to understand, like, there has to be both sides of it where like, I need just enough of these habits that can keep my life manageable, but I have to also like be realistic about what I'm gonna deal with. So my shift, I'm going into work a little later today. I think talking helps, which is why I want to do videos and communicate about this kind of stuff and make people more aware. Like, so many people get misunderstood, and there is not enough knowledge, education, awareness of things like disassociation. And, you know, I had a friend the other day who went somewhere and was trying to buy food, and the cashier was like, oh, that person looks weird. Like, well, why are they so weird? And it's like, they were like, I don't know, maybe I was disassociating. Like, maybe I'm just in another place. Like, it's like, it's hard for me to think about working with the public. Like, most days it's fine, and usually I have like a space where I can go take 10 minutes, and like, you know, thankfully I work for really, like, you know, not perfect, but, you know, has worked for me for a long time company. And like, if I have to, I'll go in another room for 10 minutes and turn the lights off and sit and like have like a reset. They know, like, I didn't used to talk to people about my mental health stuff, and I wasn't aware also, so that was a whole thing. But like, you know, I just tell people, and I talk about it now, because if people don't know, they're like, why are you being so weird? Like, you know, but it's hard because especially like weekends on retail, and any day could be anything, but like people are, I don't know, they're in their own world doing their thing, and like, it's triggering to me now after the interaction I had a few months ago with someone who literally, this person got so angry with me. They were like yelling at me, like they were following me around from room to room in this place we were in. Like, they were just like, they were not. And when I tried to explain to them that I was having a dissociative moment, like, they didn't want to hear it. Like, they were, you know, And it was hard because other people who were around at the time, like when they heard or when they weren't around at the time, they heard later about it, and then they were like, that's crazy. Like, no one's gonna blow up over something like that. Like, why would they blow up like that? No one behaves like that. So you must have done something. And like, this is the terrifying thing as a person with CPTSD and disassociation, that like someone can blow up at you and misunderstand you, and like, that's fine. We can all have a conversation, but like, if you don't want to hear me and you just want to be explosive and like live your own narrative, like, we're not going to get anywhere. And it's scary because this is when you see stuff with like the COPS and like people that they're dealing with, and how they're like, they didn't respond to me when I told them to put the thing down. And you're like, because they're having a disassociative moment. Like, y'all need to understand, like, they're not like people can be talking to you and you're like, I can't move, like I'm frozen. And I actually learned about this recently. I did not know this, and this shocked me. So there's different types of responses we can have. There's the flight, fight, freeze. You know, I'm not usually a fighter because I was taught like not to fight. Like, go somewhere else, deal with your stuff in private, and then come back out. So I was taught more like to isolate. So like, freeze sometimes is the response when you can't run off to another room or something like that. That's where disassociation comes from. Like, you're in a place, like you're in some social situation, there's a bunch of people and you cannot leave, or you feel like you cannot leave. But especially when you're younger, like you can't go anywhere. Like I remember once, this is going to tie back to religious trauma, but like, I remember not wanting to be in a church. And I was in my teens at the time, and I remember there was a sermon going on that was, I'm just going to say rude, because I felt targeted, but I felt like trapped. And like, I remember being in the church, and like, I guess this more would have been a flight response, but I got up and left. Like, I walked out of the building in front of everybody in the church. Like, it's not a big church, so they saw me walk out. And like, I was upset, and it was like, I couldn't explain or really voice as much at the time, but I kind of remember just being like, I don't want to be here. Like, this is not what I want to be doing. Like, this is not for me. And it was like, I think that after that, I just somehow convinced my dad to like, stop making me go. But, you know, like that's an example of a fight response, like, or a flight response. So sometimes people do fight and they lose all their fear and they get full of adrenaline, but like, that's a rarity for me. Like, disassociation is like the next go-to. And there's a meme that I've seen that says like, what's the difference between being intoxicated on a substance and disassociation? Because if you read the symptoms, they sound very similar. And the next person who comments on the meme is like, consent. Like, people who disassociate do not want to be disassociating, but it's like it's like a wall. Like, it's like when you see those movies where there's like the waterfall and the cracks are starting to come, and it's like trying to hold this entire thing back, and it's like one tiny little thing, you could just like crash, you know, and like the whole waterfall floods the city. Like, that's what disassociation feels like. And sometimes the wall crash and you just like, you're like watching it happen, but you're like, you don't feel like you're in control of yourself. So that's a scary thing working with the public, is like, people, you have to put on that mask, which is, you know, that's retail. People have that expectation that you're going to come in and be perky. And sometimes now when my customers that know me come in and ask like, how you doing today? I'll be like, yeah, it's another day. Like, I've been better, but I'm here, you know, that's my answer sometimes. I'm here. And people will be like, okay, I get it. Like, you know, and, sometimes I will tell them a little bit, and sometimes I'll just be like, I just want to work. So I do feel talking helps. Sometimes at work, I'm not gonna lie, or if I'm somewhere, I'll go in a room and just cry for 10 minutes. Like, cause you cannot hold it in, because this is what happens. Then you, in the middle of the night, trying to sleep, having crazy, crazy dreams, waking up full of adrenaline. And literally the thought occurred to me today that, you know, people who would get mad at me and not understand like why I'm not a morning person, why I don't want to talk in the morning, like whatever. It's like half the time I've probably had those messed up nightmares and don't remember them, but I'm still full of adrenaline. Or like if I get woken up, like I've had a problem where I don't know where I am. I've felt like I'm gonna throw up, like, you know, like it puts me in shock. Like not as much since I had my kid, because that changes how your brain works when you have a kid, more specifically with the main primary caretaker usually. But my brain's more on alert when I'm sleeping now, so I hear a lot. Like I wake up real quick where someone else will not wake up if they hear the same thing. But I keep a fan in my room. But yeah, like, how, what do you do? You can work on your, try to control things about your environment. You can work on coping skills during the day. What do you do when you sleep? And like, this is a problem for people with CPTSD. Like, you have to sleep. You have to sleep to be healthy. But like, what do you do when you're afraid to even go to sleep? And since I've been working through my process of therapy and all of that, it's like, I think things have gotten better, but it's like they say, it's like peeling an onion. Like there's another layer, there's another layer, there's a, you know, like all these things. And like, even though I do have really great memory in some regards, sometimes in an invasive way where things just pop up that like, oh, well, I didn't, you know, like getting cussed out at work. Like, you know, like I don't want to think about that. Sometimes I can think about things on demand. I'm kind of losing my train of thought because I'm trying to talk about this, but I'm a little dissociative too. So, yeah, it's fun. I don't know where I'm going at the moment. Yeah, so CPTSD, sometimes we don't remember things because we weren't ready to remember them. And sometimes they come up later, and this is like EMDR that, you know, I'm supposed to be working through that soon because you have to reframe these things now that you have an adult mind and more experience, and to be able to like reason through things in like a safe environment versus like when you're a child, you have no control over your environment. Like you can only influence it so much. And your brain's not developed. And, you know, like a lot of us people with CPTSD tend to blame ourselves. We take responsibility for everything, especially if you're the parentified child. Like, man, do you ever feel like your job is to maintain the peace in your household when adults should be doing that? Not a very uplifting video. I'm sorry, but I needed to get it out. And you know what? I paid my therapist a pretty penny, and I do think it's worth every penny, but like they're not really on call 24/7. And I have a lot of friends that I talk to. I try to spread it out between everybody and not burden one person with all of the stuff. And this too, like, I know my partner's watching this video right now, but it's like, we have to learn in our relationships. I'll talk more about codependency down the line, but like your partner cannot do and be everything for you. That is unreasonable. It's almost as bad as a parentified child. Like, you have to take responsibility for some of your own stuff and spread it out. And like, not, the hardest thing is to, for me, I don't know about healthy people, but like for me to not take other people's emotions personally. Like, if I offer help to someone and they say they want it, fine. But I have learned in the last year and a half, if I'm in a situation where someone's stressed out, upset, angry, and I can't fix the situation, and they really don't, they just need to feel their feelings, and I'll just walk away. Like, and I'll just let them feel their stuff. Like, and that's the hard thing, because society, like, the way that we see things in the media, it's just nonsense. It's like, oh, this magic thing of like, one person's going to fix everything for you. And it's like, no. Like, support is great, but Anna on We Are Recovery on Facebook talks about this, about codependency, and like, codependency is being so enmeshed that like when one person has something bad happen, the other person's going down too. Like you both falling in the hole. Interdependence is being supportive of each other, but if one person falls down, the other person can help lift you up, and it's like a seesaw. Like it's constantly, like it's changing all the time in your relationships. So yeah, we have to deal with our stuff. And if you don't deal with your stuff, and even sometimes if you do, some of us get those nightmares. And the crazy thing, this is going to sound insane to people who don't experience this and don't understand it. Maybe it won't, but like sometimes during the day, I feel like because of my hyperphantasia, it's like I feel like I'm dreaming during the day too. And this could be disassociation, but it's like I have one recurring dream that just keeps going. Like I'll be at work just doing the most mundane whatever thing, and it's like all of a sudden I'll get these pops of this dream that I keep having. And I think it's our subconscious trying to work through things. But yeah, it's distracting. Like people don't understand when they're talking to you, when they're trying to interact with you, this thing of disassociation. And for me personally, like the hyperphantasia, the weird memory stuff that I have, like they think you're not paying attention. So, oh Lord, to be the child who in school was, Elise has great, she gets great grades, but she needs to pay attention in class, and she, sometimes it'd be like she needs to talk less, which that's another video. Like that was my only social time, as terrible as school could be at times. But like need to focus more. Like you need me to focus more. Like they did try to, when I was back in school, have me talk to the counselor a little bit, but it's limited in their ability and their time and their resources. And like as a kid, like a lot of us kids are to be honest, I love my dad, but it's like there's a fear of your parents. Like a lot of us, I've talked to many people about this, do not want to tell counselors and therapists what's going on with us when we're kids, because we're like, and there may be some therapists who understand confidentiality, and I understand because I'm a parent now, but it's like, I think it's tricky to try to put children in therapy, though it may be necessary and maybe good at sometimes, but it's like, they can only do what they can do. Because sometimes you are just so concerned that like, if you go home and you talk to your parents, or your parents find out what you said, like you're going to get in trouble. Like, and that might not be reality. That might just be fear, or it could be reality. I know some stories, I'm not going to repeat them, of some terrible parenting things that have happened to people. So, eventually, we all have to deal with our stuff. And I know I'm not the only one, because I have known other people who have had horrible, terrible nightmares, yelling, screaming, getting up in their sleep. Like, it's, if you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you. So now that I took 20 milligrams of CBD, this is, like I said, this is Garden of Life brand. I'll go more into their products eventually. There's no THC in this. It ain't gonna get you toasted. Like, you're not gonna be like walking around like with your head in the clouds. It's not gonna do that. Everyone's body's different, and they may respond to CBD differently. I just had a discussion. Quinn Stone on Facebook and on Instagram and TikTok, like, he made a post the other day because he's Cali sober, and he's like, no one wants to debate me about it. And I'm not an expert, but I did share some posts with him, and I'm not saying Cali sober's wrong. I would rather someone be Cali sober and smoking Dr. Green Thumbs than DEAD. Like, because I know people that are that bad that, like, they're gonna do something. So to me, it's like, if it's helping them regulate in the moment and they're not hurting anybody, like, it is what it is. But yeah, Dr. Andrew Huberman. I'll repost his video about THC and CBD and how his studies as a neurologist, how that affects the brain. And Dr. Dr. Amen. Why do I have so much trouble saying his name? It's not Amen. It's spelled like Amen. A-M-E-N. Dr. Amen, who does brain imaging, talks about the MJ and how it affects your circulation in your brain, and how it basically, what they found in the scans is makes it look like it's eating holes in your brain, and like the function, the blood flow, the activity centers. So I'm not a proponent of THC so much anymore for myself. Y'all make your own decisions as long as you're not hurting anybody else, but that's for me. So I will repost that. But CBD for me, for many of my friends, is great. As someone with chronic pain from life, it does help sometimes. And there's another video on dopamine by Andrew Rosenberg I can post to that explains some of that. CBD works essentially by lowering dopamine in the body. THC raises it. That's why people who have a family history or are diagnosed schizophrenic, they already have trouble with dopamine, having a dopamine too high. That's why they can have a psychotic episode if they had too much THC. So for the majority of the population, they're probably not going to be dangerous, not nearly as dangerous as people who go out and have alcohol. But there is a very small percentage of the population that can have psychotic episodes from THC. Thankfully, like I said, I don't really use THC so much anymore. I don't at all. Honestly, it's been quite a long time. And yeah, it is not for me. I never really, in my experience, in my days, had anything too crazy happen, but that spinning room feeling, some of us, especially the first time, like, what does Lee Hammock say? You better hold on to your seat. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But CBD has a lot of great stuff. We can go into more talks about CBD. As I said, I don't like to claim too much or go into too much detail and then try to say I'm an expert, because I'm not. I try to repost stuff by the people who are the neuroscientists, the whatever. So I'm going to try to have a little quiet time and put on some maybe ASMR, ambient ASMR, and chill. I don't think I need to eat anything right now. I'll go into another video sometime about how not eating is really bad because it raises your adrenaline. And if you have anxiety, oh Lord, can you live on the roller coaster? Like, I used to live on the anxiety roller coaster, and eating on a regular basis really helps with that. I did eat this morning, but I know when you get more in tune with your body, they call this homeostasis. It's the more balanced state of your body, where your body wants to be, where it's happy and things are not going off the wheels. When you recognize that feeling, and it's not as fun as the highs and lows of, life, of that roller coaster, but like, it's just more stable, and you find your what's the word I want to use? Your reference point. So when, like this morning, I'm having this morning where I feel like I'm about to just, I wouldn't say blow up, but just break down. So this is what I was going to mention earlier. There is the freeze response. I've posted videos about it. I could post it again. And of course now, as soon as I want to say the word, it's escaping my mind. But I heard recently about the collapse response. And for me, this is kind of like a thing that I've dealt with, where like when I'm overstressed, I just shut down. And like, it's really hard for friends and family and partners. Like, they don't understand, like, why won't you talk to me right now? Or like, we're having an argument, we're having a discussion, like, I want to finish this discussion. And I'm like, that is the absolute worst thing for me, when someone is like, no, I need this right now. And I'm like, I can't, no. Like, I've gone and like locked myself in rooms before. Like, I'm not talking to you. Like, everything's too much. But they call this the shutdown or collapse response. And I will post this infographic thing that explains the difference between freeze and shutdown. But this blew my mind, and I didn't know this, but in the shutdown collapse response, our body actually releases a neurochemical called dynorphins. And dynorphins, when I looked it up, sound like they have similar properties to opiates. So when you see someone, or like when you're having that response and all you want to do is go lay down and sleep and reset, and like you can't do anything, like if you have had the unfortunate, interaction, you have to know someone who has been on an opiate. I mean, sometimes they're prescribed, so that's how a lot of people get hooked on them. But like they are very glassy-eyed and tired, and like kind of like if you see someone who's in the tipping point of that experience, like they're not responsive. And I had heard of the endogenous cannabinoid system for THC and CBD, but the fact that we have an endogenous system for opiates is like, that like blew my mind. And that our body under stress releases dynorphins, which are opiate-like compounds. So this can explain, in my mind, why some people get addicted to traumatic stuff. Because like, even though it feels bad, in a way, that response almost feels good. Because like, why would people start taking opiates? Because it feels good. Like, let's be real. Like, that's why it's a problem in this country. But the fact, I didn't know we had a system for that. And that just explains so much. And like, why we have to educate ourselves on CPTSD, our systems, our neurochemicals, and that whole system and how it works, because we need to understand what's happening to our body. Because like, you can't keep living in that. It's like, you have to find the ways to regulate yourself, and you have to remove yourself from toxic situations and toxic behaviors that are making your system go out of whack. Because like, these things are not free. Like, none of these neurochemicals and hormones and things that are in our body are free. And that is why with CPTSD and trauma, we have a lot of pain problems. Like, it's like trying to run the gas on your range, on your oven on high all the time. Like, it's just like, you're gonna run out of gas eventually. Like, it's not like, and you're gonna burn up your oven. Like, you can't live like that. And unfortunately, some people, I hate to say this, but it's true. Like with my own mother, it's like the trauma and the lifestyle and the extremes that people live in that they don't understand how to get out of, and they don't understand how they got into them and what's going on with them. Like, you can't even completely blame them for the life that they're living, because like they don't understand. Like, and I'll post another video by Dr. Amin that I just watched yesterday, where he was talking about THC, but he said he was talking to Miley Cyrus, because she's one of his clients, about a compound that's created in one of the parts of our brain and how THC kind of stunts that. So we have to be aware of how things are affecting our bodies. And, y'all can try to say, I'll talk about this in another video, probably when I talk about health, but like, because of my life experiences and the things I've seen, I feel like people I've watched just flush their lives down the toilet. And like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, I mean, there are people who live to 100. Like, it's not uncommon, and like, that should be a life goal, in my opinion. But you could live it healthy. And I'll go into more detail about that. But all y'all people talk about 27 Club and all that stuff. Like, to me, that's sad. Like, I don't think anybody that's talking about living that way is a happy person. Like, I'm just going to burn out and whatever. And like that's a waste of a life. I'm sorry. I love y'all. And I know you have like mental health problems and stress and whatever. And like, maybe the world sometimes seems like a crummy place. But like, I guarantee you, like, as much stress as there is in life, you know, what you lose out on by checking out early is like, it's huge. Like, you don't even know the difference between the early 90s when my mom passed and like now. It's like, wow, did she miss a lot? Like, you know, y'all need to stick around. So we got to take care of ourselves. We have to become aware. We can't always control everything about how our body's responding, what is going on with it, but we can be aware and know that it is temporary. So, you know, you have to recognize your own behaviors, your own triggers when you're getting off kilter, and learn the best ways that you can handle it, the healthier ways. And just like I said with the THC, to me, sometimes that's like the lesser of two evils. Like, do I want someone to be hooked to opiates, or do I want them to be hooked on THC? It depends on the person, but like one's probably less bad than the other one for the person in certain ways and less destructive to other people. So you just have to each day keep trying to do a little better and recognize more. And it's really, really hard, especially if you grew up in families where you're not supposed to talk about your negative emotions. Trust me, like, it is really hard to say to someone, like, I have this mental health thing, or like, I'm dealing with this in this moment, and like, I need a minute. Like, I need to like go off and like reset, because my body right now is in like fight flight mode. And I don't want people to misunderstand that. Like I said, with my experience with that person that thought I was like giving them a look, like, I can see how someone might think that, but also, if you don't want to talk to me and understand it, I can't take responsibility for your reaction. Like, that's unfortunate. We can only control ourselves. So, I will not do a live tonight because I ended up doing this, and I'm going to be working later than I was supposed to. That's okay. Like, I love my night crew. I'm very appreciative that I have some level of flexibility, but trust me, like, maintaining, what do I want to say? Maintaining safety in my job is like, that's some more trauma stuff we could talk about at another time. But I mean, that everybody needs that. Like, we need financial security, and like, to be like that. Just, what do they say? I have a friend who makes much more money than me, but they told me once, they said, money is not happiness. Money is freedom. So money is like a certain level of security, but you got to find other ways to make your happiness in life, because money can free you in some ways, and it can become a prison. So, I'm off tomorrow and Tuesday. I might do another live about a more uplifting topic. I still want to do my video about, you know, growing up in the goth scene and whatever. But, wow, today is one of the worst CPTSD days I've had in months, just because of the sleep thing. And I did sleep, but like, how good is your sleep when you're waking up hyperventilating, crying, yelling sometimes? I don't even know. I don't know what my neighbors have to hear. They don't complain. They're really nice, but like, whew, you know. But maybe it's too that when you talk about it, people are like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. So I hope everybody has a nice Sunday. I actually, even though I might seem like it's stressful, usually I love being at my job. Because sometimes it's like a almost borderline unhealthy escape from life. And I get a lot of, what's the word I want to say? Like, I get a lot of like my praise from my accomplishments at my job. So, that's another thing to balance. I had a teacher many years ago who lived by the motto, everything in moderation, nothing in excess. And oh Lord, in this country, do we like to live in excess. So, if you've been living in excess or you've been working too hard or whatever, take some time for you. I probably in the next 2 days will take some personal time, but I'm definitely in a few weeks going to be like having me time. And if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. And your brain is going to, I say this to people all the time. If you work too hard and you don't make time to take a break for yourself, your body's going to make you take a break. Whether it's through just your brain not being able to function or your body literally making you physically ill. So schedule a time, because it's a lot more fun to schedule the time to relax and take time for yourself than it is to have to take time off when you're sick. Who likes to be sick? That's a whole nother crummy video topic for me to talk about, but it's a real thing. So everybody, have a nice day. Don't worry. I'm fine. I actually feel a lot better now that I talked. It doesn't mean that everything just went away magically, but it kind of diffuses to be able to talk about things, to be able to express things when you didn't feel like you were allowed to express things a lot of your life, and that was like shamed. That like, no, like you got to talk, and it probably will help some other people. If other people realize just how much struggle that some of us have, even though like we all try to put on this fake like face, like it's actually not that abnormal. I mean, maybe some of my CPTSD stuff is a little out of the average, but we all have hard days. That's all I'm saying. So have a great day, guys. Thanks for listening.